Yes, the old machine is working. Booting up to Windows 95 finally. Gosh, this has been a long time coming. What a palaver. Okay guys, here's a bit of a flashback. So I only really got into vintage computing seriously roughly 2 years ago, and it coincided with me also journaling my hobby on YouTube. And one of my early scores was finding my first AT case in a scrap heap for free. And being somewhat new, I thought, right, I'm going to get a late 90s computer up and running inside this. It's pretty smart, surely won't take me too long. Well, actually, it's taken 18 months and I'm still not finished, and this video is kinda a record of how it went. So first off, I had to go get some internals. At this point, I hadn't scavenged many spare parts like I can call upon now. The easiest and quickest avenue back then was old eBay, so I racked up a few components. There was a nice looking motherboard with an MMX processor and RAM for sale, so I plucked that. I did reuse an ATX PSU, so I took a shot at one of the ATX to AT power supply converters. I also thought I'd like to give the compact flash card option a go with a Windows 3.11 build, so I took one of those. However, once I had everything bundled into the case, I found that I just couldn't get the CF card to read in the BIOS. It may have been a bad interface, or the CF card was no good, or many other variables. I tried messing around in the BIOS and other things, but as I didn't have many other spare parts, and being a little disheartened by my setback, I popped this project into the basement whilst I concentrated on some other machines that were coming through the door. Fast forward maybe about 3 to 4 months, and I get the itch to try again. This time I pull an IDE hard drive from another project machine, and this one actually boots up. This disk has a copy of FreeDOS installed, which I was experimenting with at the time, and it works pretty well. At least I could get Wolfenstein 3D running on it, which buoyed my confidence. But the thing is that I don't really want FreeDOS on this. I have a nostalgic hankering for Windows 95, as it's the interface that is burned into my muscle memory. So I set about trying to install from a WinWorld image. I find that my floppy drive isn't working no matter what I do with the BIOS or hardware. I take 3 other drives from other machines and try those. I try with different cables. I even order a floppy drive interface card from Bulgaria. None of these allow me to get the floppy drive to work, and thus I can't use a floppy boot disk. But no matter, after faffing around like that for like 6 weeks, I just decided to use my Windows 98 boot CD that I picked up somewhere else. Because Windows 98 is obviously the best, and lo and behold, the CD-ROM drive that was in the case must be a type that the Oak drivers do not work with. It was an older Machita drive, I think, from memory. So I couldn't get CD access anyway with this. Well, that kind of pissed me off, so I banished the whole machine, the whole project, back to the basement. Now fast forward again to earlier this month. I had a spare day and I thought, right, this is going to be the day that I crack this son of a bitch. I boot it up and the disk that I put in previously had totally failed. Figures, I guess. So I replaced that with a spare Maxter I've picked up over the past year. Then I swap in a newer spare CD-ROM drive, and look, I can get the Windows 98 installer running. I thought, this is it, I've done it, I'm on the home stretch. But alas, there's another twist. Part way through the install, it stopped reading from the CD-ROM drive. Just totally. Stopped the install, dead flat. Rebooting the machine didn't help, as now my boot CD wouldn't be read, so I couldn't get back into the installer. So what the hell is going on? So I ripped out that CD-ROM drive and I put in another spare that I had, and I'm running out of spares at this point, and you can see that this one particularly is perched upon my child's box of butt wipes. And anyway, I decided to go back to Windows 95, but this time I will copy the installer files to the hard disk and then run the installer from there. So it's back to basics, old but gold, you know? And it worked, yahoo! A few hours of farting around and finally I have an operating system loaded on this machine. Over 18 months since I naively said I was going to build this machine. Still, the floppy disk drive is not working at all. I can't get around that at the moment. Either it's a BIOS problem or a motherboard issue, I reckon. But hey, if the CD-ROM drive is going, then I can probably get away without needing it. The machine doesn't have a sound card yet, so that would be the immediate next step. And finally, it doesn't have a case, it doesn't have the shell, so I've been looking into making a simple shell replacement from MDF, but you know, let's see how I get on with that. It's been a bit of a drawn out journey, but in some ways quite enlightening. Now I know why all us vintage hardware collectors hoard components. You never know when you're going to need to use various pieces to get a system up and running. Unfortunately for this system, I've since picked up more capable and reliable machines if you've seen some of my later videos. So for now, I've put it back into the basement. If you're still here after all of that, then I really want to say thank you for watching and listening. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to hear my silly story of frustration and learning. Maybe take a look at some of my other recent videos, and please write in your comments below. I'd love to hear about what you think I should eventually do with this particular tortured machine, and I'll see you in the next one.